Happy anniversary! Hello and welcome to Intoxicated Masculinity. If it's Wednesday, we have a cocktail video coming at you. And today we have something a little bit different. We've been doing some tiki before. Probably go back to do a little bit tiki after this because that's kind of what I'm interested in right now. But this is the 2-year anniversary of the channel. So balloons, confetti, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that it would be interesting to sort of take a look back, maybe not a look back because that is a little bit too painful, but turn our page back. The first cocktail we ever did on this channel was the Choke and Smoke out of the Amaro cocktail book. And that cocktail is actually a takeoff on a different cocktail called the Smoking Gun, which is one we never actually did. And I thought that 2 years on, maybe it's be a good idea to finally take a look at that cocktail. The Smoking Gun was created at the Red Feather Lounge in Boise, Idaho by Mark Allen. My wife and I went through Boise actually a few years ago, and actually it's a really nice little town. I was kind of surprised. You know, I think it's definitely not one that you accidentally pass through, but it's a nice town. I don't know the exact date of the creation of the cocktail. I'm assuming it's fairly recent, but I don't have a year. But I think since we don't have a lot of a history, let's make some drinks and drink them. Okay, we're back and we have some ingredients. This is going to be a stirred cocktail. I do have a bit of a bone to pick with Mark Allen, the creator of this cocktail, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But we're going to start off with our peated Scotch. In this case, I'm going to use Ardbeg. So we are just going to toss in 2 ounces of a peated whiskey. Okay, now the one thing that I don't like on this is he has this listed in teaspoons, and I see this a lot in older cocktails. I don't see it as much in new cocktails. Typically when you're putting together a cocktail recipe, you want to kind of keep the same measurements. So, you know, you want to use 1 ounce, 2 ounces, ½ ounce, ¼ ounce, 1/8 of an ounce, bar spoon. Teaspoon is something that most bartenders are not going to have right to hand. I mean, obviously I'm in my house, so I have them, but it's not as user-friendly as it could be. Again, if this is what we're looking at, I would prefer to just call this a bar spoon. But we're going to do as the recipe says. So we're going to use our Fernet Branca. And as best as we can, we are going to use 3/4 of an ounce of Fernet Branca. And then we are going to use ½ a teaspoon, which again, if you're, especially if you're making cocktails quickly, the difference between 3/4 of a teaspoon and ½ a teaspoon is negligible, but we're gonna do the best we can. So ½ teaspoon of a brown sugar cordial. So we're gonna toss that in there. I mean, to me, this feels a lot like just kind of a takeoff on a old-fashioned, except you're using a peated whiskey instead of a bourbon. And then we're going to toss in 2 dashes, and this is specifically calling Fee Brothers barrel-aged bitters. So that's what we got in here. So, and by the way, that smoke comes at you right off the bat. You got it right there. Let's toss some ice in here, stir it up, and see what we think. Okay, once you get some ice in your mixing glass, just go ahead and get in there. Just give it a good mix. And as I kind of always say, just keep your finger down here, kind of on the bottom, and see the temperature there. All right, once you feel like you got that down to temperature like you'd like, I want to mention 2 things. First of all, I'm going to put this in a chilled rocks glass. They call it a whiskey glass, and I think I even saw some people putting this in a Glencairn. Not necessarily anything wrong with that, but this is the way I'm going to do it. Also, this calls for a mint sprig as a garnish. I just don't have any mint. My mint is not growing the way I would hoped, so I don't really have any. So we're going to strain that into our rocks glass. I'm actually going to put in a nice big cube so we keep that nice and chilled. And there we have our Smoking Gun. Let's give it a try. I think that's good. It's kind of, it's a little bit of a complicated cocktail. This is mostly going to be your peated Scotch. Again, you kind of saw the proportions of things we're putting in here. I mean, your Ardbeg in this case is doing most of the work. I am getting a little bit of that Fernet on the back, sort of that, I always think Fernet tastes kind of like a cola. I mean, not like Coca-Cola in sort of the traditional sense, but kind of a cola-y backdrop to it. I mean, it tastes like a cookout. A lot of smoke, but again, the smoke's pretty much coming from the yard bag. Maybe getting a little bit of the bitters. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Peated scotches are really tough to put in drinks because they have such big flavor profiles that tasting sort of small bits of other things is going to be a little tough. Again, I think if I was to do this again, I think I probably would add more Fernet and maybe even a little bit more of the brown sugar cordial because it kind of feels like they're not sort of getting their due in this cocktail. Again, it's not bad, and especially if you like peated scotch, I think you'd be okay with this because you're just sort of altering the base spirit kind of by, you know, a tiny little bit and adding a few other bits of flavor in there. I don't dislike it, but I think overall I probably would have added a little bit more. But overall, I don't mind this cocktail, especially, you know, if you like peated scotch. If you don't like peated scotches, this is definitely not for you because that's, you know, the primary flavor here. But on that bombshell, I want to thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a good drink, and have a good day.